Hmm. Is it? Are we on?
We're doing it live.
Are we on?
We're doing it live. We're live, I think.
Fuck it, we're doing it live.
Yes, we are. We are fucking doing it live. Okay.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Eastern Marshlands, an evening with TK, live from Shitpost Central. Tonight you have me, TK, as your host, and with me is
Positivist Pacman. Long live the dolphin.
Positivist. Hello and welcome to the show. We may have some folks joining us later on. Tonight we're going to talk about just a general chit-chat about Australian news and politics. But first, Comrade Pacman, how you doing?
Day of wage slavery. Actually, an interesting story. I managed to knock $100 off a person's bill today and still keep all their services intact for the company I work for. So, little victories.
So you are our man on the inside, are you?
Yeah, petit bourgeois. Don't tell anyone.
Nice. Well, I've just been milling about the house making. Actually, I was for a little bit busy making that shit post that's gone up finally.
Yeah, I'm kind of keen for that. That was pretty awesome. Not gonna lie.
Oh, you haven't seen it yet?
Oh yeah, I saw it.
TK Jones versus capitalism.
Yeah, well, you see, the thing is, I mean, that mask is never going to get old, ever.
I can tell you secretly, I may be updating that mask.
Updating? Like,
Yes.
getting a new one?
Yes, getting a new one. So it'll probably be the same sort of shape, but different colors. And it'll most likely be yellow and red. So more of a Soviet look.
So what are you going to just replace? You're just going to go the whole Hogan and then just replace brother with comrade?
You gotta seize the means, comrade. It works. It works.
It kind of does. I'm not going to lie. It kind of does work. How to be excellent to each other, dudes. All right.
Dude.
Wild stallion. How did that happen? Okay.
I have no idea. Well,
moving on.
Let us talk about the nugget of, well, not so much good news, not so much bad news, but the nugget that is Milo Yiannopoulos preposterous coming to Australia. So what have you heard about this?
Well, all I know is that twatface McFuckwit is on his way down here. Not a big fan of the old Milo. I mean, a gay, interracially married, conservative Catholic just doesn't roll off the tongue very well. I'm not sure what he's deciding he wants to do. Sometimes I'm kind of torn on the issue because I think that, I feel like everybody has a right to have their opinion. Just at the same time, you don't have opinions like his. And that sort of makes me think, hold on, maybe it's, I don't know.
Well, it's like he has a right to his demonstrably wrong opinion. It's the things he says is like not only hypocritical, but almost to an oxymoron, especially with his support of Trump. Because Trump recently, I spoke about it on the podcast. Trump's going to go visit. I think he may have already done it. Visit a anti-LGBT hate group. He's going to be the first U.S. president to do so. And it's this horrendous thing that Trump's doing that's taking an entire demographic of his voting base, and he's saying, "Nah, fuck you, screw you, I've had enough of you." And Milo, I think, is still trying to praise Trump, and then people throw back, "Well, what about how Trump's hanging out with these anti-LGBT people, and it's this trollerific provocateur all of a sudden melts into this, well, almost melts because he's a fucking snowflake of a person.
You see, the problem is with Milo and with all these other people regarding Trump and the general public as such, it just sort of comes down to the fact that we really are entering into a period of time where the media is just so polarized and the population of the world is just so polarized that anything you say and anything you do, no matter what it is, immediately ventures your, shall we say, position on the subject. So the fact that Trump's going around hanging out with anti-LGBT groups is not a surprise. He's obviously pandering to his conservative supporters, but more to the point, it's just he's just not bothering to hide his true position anymore. He's not campaigning anymore. He's won, and so now he's sort of coming out of his shell and doing what he wants to do, which is maintain the status quo. The rich get richer, the poorer get poorer, and on top of that, he wants to exert more executive control and become. He's no longer a crypto fascist. He's actually becoming an fascist. Fascist singular.
Also, welcome to Eugene, who's just joined. Hello.
Hello. Nice to see you. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yep.
we can hear you.
We hear you, Comrade.
We were just talking about Milo Yiannopoulos' visit to Australia.
Oh, very interesting. I've just heard you. We also mentioned the Trump's anti-LGBT stance and him becoming fascist. I would agree that he is leveraging more and more power. I see that, but to an afterthought to our discussion with TK on the podcast, I would also add to the thought that I believe that he understands that he is really, really down, and there is still a chance that he could be re-elected, despite the fact that he's ratings, the polls showing that he's falling out completely. There's nobody's interested in Trump anymore. If he goes to war, this is how he can be re-elected easily. And it doesn't matter what he does, because all of he does is a lot of distraction, and you have no idea what is he really doing. This anti-LGBT thing may as well be a distraction from a bigger issue. For example, remember how he a couple of days ago tweeted out that some of the news agencies should have their licenses revoked because of the fake news, quote unquote.
Oh, fuck me.
He literally said that, and I've listened to a great podcast that is far better than ours. TK, I'm very sorry to say that, but it's one of the top. But yeah, it's not our competition. It's out of our league. It's one of the best podcasts out there. Brilliant Idiots with Charlemagne the God and Andrew Schultz. And in the recent podcast, they were talking about this, and Schultz mentioned that why Trump does that is that there are journalists now that are digging into all of his Ponzi schemes, they're following the money basically. And we should understand that the Trump will go down on the media really hard, and he will be doing this because they are onto something. They are onto him for the money.
With
and all of the other stuff.
Yeah, with all of this coming out and this grand illusion of Trump coming crashing down, how can Milo, especially with his visit coming to Australia, how can Milo continue to say that Trump is the best choice for America or even the world?
Oh, I don't know. And is he? I have a question. Can you tell me more about his visit? Is he going to some universities or something?
From what I know,
he's playing arenas. He's actually coming to do speeches at big venues. He's actually selling out places at the moment, which is really surprising.
It is.
As far as I'm aware, I remember seeing there's been ads for it plastered all over Australian Facebook pages, God knows where. But the response from the Australian public is actually quite surprising in what I've seen, is because there seems to be a lot of sympathy from the Australian public towards Milo in a lot of areas from what we can see. Mainly because I think that the reactionary politics and the general disillusionment with establishment that Milo supposedly purports is really appealing to the reactionary right in Australia. And the reactionary right in Australia, as we've already established a million times before, is no small thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he's playing big venues. I know he's playing one of the biggest venues in my town, in my city. So I live in one of the capitals down south. And yeah, he's playing one of the biggest venues in town here. He's obviously selling tickets.
So have you seen any local response? Like, there's been that petition to try to ban Milo from entering the country, but has there been any like discussions about like if he's allowed in? Do we boycott? Do we try to get people to not go? Has there been any like grassroots movements to counter Milo, or do we as Australians just not give a shit like normal?
The right-winged response has been support. I saw quite a lot of shit talking from the Kekistani brigade of Kekistani regiment, which was natural. You knew that they would be there, saying, "Oh, I can't wait to go to a Milo." I mean, they say that the only reason they're going to Milo Yiannopoulos' thing is because they're hoping us leftists will show up, because they want to start shit with us. They don't care about Milo so much as they just want to start shit with the left. And they're assuming that the liberal left is going to come out and do what happened in Berkeley those years ago. You think Molotov cocktails and I mean, personally, I was personally opposed to our treatment of Milo on the left. You see, because Milo is one of those people who is a troll. Like, the more you feed him, the more power he's going to get. He's not like Richard Spencer. Richard Spencer, excuse my colloquialisms, but he's a cunt, let's be frank. And he deserved everything he got with that guy punching him in the face. But Milo, I think it's best to ignore him. Just let him sort of fizzle out. He's a queen who thrives on, people worshipping him where he goes.
He's I think it's self-described provocateur, and he loves an audience, especially a hostile audience. And it's very sock demi, kind of American definition liberal response. But if you just stop ignoring Milo, he becomes irrelevant. If everyone who cared about Milo stopped, we'd win.
You know what? In my opinion, he is the, how do I say it? He is the ultimate Nazball. Not in the meme standpoint, but in the legitimate how the Nazballs operate in Eastern Europe. Again, I will today I will officially start quote unquote the production of the movie I'm making, which is a documentary about the Nazball movement in Eastern Europe. And it's not like a meme here. At one point, the Nazball party was the only legitimate opposition towards Putin and in Russia. And you know how they did it? Solely on the idea that aesthetics are far more important than the context, the content of something. Like the Nazballs, especially Lemonov kind of Nazballs, they are literally just shitposting their way up the political mainstream. They shitposting themselves to TV shows. They're shitposting themselves to everywhere. And this is what Milo does. There is no politics behind Milo. There is only the aesthetics of Milo that drives him. And the more you give attention to him, as you said, the more you give him power, because there is no legitimate politics behind him, despite his quote-unquote critique. Haha, le feminists, haha, le meme, troll-faced bottom text. That's literally all of his politics. I'd like to introduce Goulash Guy. Goulash Guy, hello. How's it going?
Guy, hello.
Hi, lads.
We were just
It's-
talking about Milo Yiannopoulos' visit to Australia.
Papadopoulos.
Twat Facebook fuckwit, as I've started
I
calling.
mean, yeah. That's I think,
Real
as you
Australian
just said, sorry, George, as you just said, like a lot of his politics, his entire image is based on that whole like triggered yet libs, haha, XD. It's literally just that. It was the whole sort of like, haha, triggered feminists, but like a lot of that sort of I don't want to say I don't want to say like the whole rational skeptic community, but certainly a lot of I don't know. I want to say people like Sargon, who sort of like they troll people. They trigger the feminists, and then they try and make a point about society. It's not a very good one. I think he going back to like, I think there was like a Labour member of Parliament that he was like, I wouldn't even rape you, and then she blocked him, and he made like a really shitty social commentary about that. But with Milo, it's just trolling, and there's no punchline at the end of it. There's no zinger. There's nothing. It's just like, haha, I've made you get upset.
So would you say he's like a pizza cutter in that he's all edge and no point?
I mean, yeah, that's the absurdity of the analogy is it's I mean, yeah, that's literally all that is all he does. Yeah, it is literally just like edgy memes for conservative teens, and that's it. There isn't a social commentary that if he is trying to give a social commentary, it's very poorly done. It is literally just like a haha trigger yet libs.
So if he has this apparent trollerific haha libs sort of attitude, and it's very apparent to guys and gals like us and whatnot in Australia and even Belarus, do you think he's even going to get like a wave of support through Australia?
Unfortunately, yes, I think so. Mainly because the reactionary right in Australia is as I said before, it's not a small number. I think he'll get a lot of support from the Young Liberals for one, which is kind of ironic.
Oh yeah.
And all these. Basically, I think the biggest weapon he has as one that's common with IdPol, it's the old the IdPol straw man. Okay, look, we've got a gay, Jewish, interracially married guy here saying you're all fuckwits. So haha, where's your identity politics now, liberals? I'm thinking, yeah, well, at least tankies like me over here are just sort of like, well, Well, actually, no, I'm a positivist. I just want to nuke the world at this point. I've given it up.
That really is left unity, where you just want to like give the middle finger to Milo Yiannopoulos, regardless of your tendency.
Yeah, well,
basically.
you see, I've got more hope with the Dolphins than I do with anyone else at this point. Sentient beings be damned.
I think I want to say in regards to will he have? I don't want to say influence. I mean, obviously, I think there is going to be a bit more traction than will be expected. I think to say that, like, it's going to be no one's going to turn up. Obviously, there are going to be people who will turn up along that sort of like, I want to say people who identify as like classical liberals and whatnot. But 1 second,
so like people coming out of the woodwork, essentially.
Did you see that actually? Like, he got a lot of popular traction with the Sunrise crowd of all people. Friggin'.
Oh yeah, that Sunrise interview.
Yeah, he was on Sunrise recently, and he didn't get a bad response, which was kind of like, oh shit. Well,
I didn't see that.
Yeah, well, I kind of avoid watching Sunrise these days.
I think everyone's given up on Sunrise.
Yeah, Sunrise today. I mean, I only watch. I think today because Carl Stefanovic, who is just like, sometimes he rocks up and he's a bit drunk, and that's funny. But
I still want to know what kind of.
I wouldn't.
We should explain, Eugene. Sunrise and Today are early morning.
They're like the breakfast shows.
Yeah, the breakfast shows.
I get it.
So there's a bit of news, there's a bit of that. But Carl Stefanovic is like a meme machine.
He's so good.
Oh.
I want to know what kind of chemicals they put in Larry Enger's teeth, man, because that shit's not natural. I don't know what's. He's balding. He's almost 50 now. Ever since he was on what was it? I don't know. Price is Right. That's the one. But like, the guy's like almost 50, and his teeth could blind someone if they got their high beams on. Like, fuck that.
This really is like real Australian hours. We're throwing out references that the international community will never understand.
Yeah,
I still love it. I still love it because subconsciously, when you listen to this kind of stuff, you want to be like in on a joke, and you still have this comfy feeling of a reference, despite the fact that you don't get a reference. It's weird, but it's still pleasant to listen to. So I'm just. You sit from the sidelines and you just enjoy the wholesomeness of it. Going back to Nesquik, man. I was hoping someone would get that. I didn't want that to go unnoticed. Going back to Milo, I think that I don't think there's going to be like nationwide support with like this fucking cult of personality with like Milo signs being paraded throughout the streets. But I can certainly see, as you said before, with the sort of the failure of the two-party system, the decadence that we're experiencing now, that you can sort of experience that that reaction to the sort of failure of the Liberals and Labor, that you get these sort of like, I want to say rational people who would vote for Pauline Hanson, but that those words just don't.
I was just thinking that. Natural. Could you imagine that fucking publicity tour? Just like gay pom interracially, gay married interracially immigrant pom from America on a publicity tour with Pauline Hanson. Could you just imagine the cognitive dissonance that you would have to have? Like regional Queensland would just shit itself.
Oh, but especially like being gay and Jewish, that would make you would have to do some very big fucking mental gymnastics. What really gets me?
Oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, I think, I remember he made a comment about like gay people shouldn't be married. He was like, "Oh, it's cool not to be able to get married." There's like this sort of he sort of referred to like 1700s romanticism and whatnot, the sort of the romantics of what isn't allowed, and the sort of the sneaking out and the taboo. And I just thought to myself, like, it's just so, I don't want to use the word cuck, but like, how cucked can you be that you're a gay man who doesn't want to let other gay people get married? Like,
it seems as if Milo's got a strange view of his own like homosexuality and thinks that everyone else would enjoy it. It's like, no, for Christ's sake, I don't want to have to sneak off to talk to my boyfriend. I spent my time in the closet, damn it, I want to get out of it.
Also, I think I talked about this with a lot of my other Australian friends, but it was because of the it's not even a plebiscite, it's literally just a postal vote. It's not even legally binding. I think Bearing made a video about that, and I didn't watch all of it because it was a bit painful to watch, to be honest. Like, I don't agree with a lot of these people on many things, but I'll watch the video. I'll try and suss the content to see if I can not even find some middle ground, but find if I can like see like their rationing and their side of things. And his response was like, "Oh, there's SJWs on the yes side, so I'm going to vote no." And I just felt so sick. Like, the No campaign has put out some of the most disgusting and horrific video. It's propaganda, is what it is.
Yeah, just before we move on to same-sex marriage, I just want to say hello to Kaiser Genus Wilhelm II von Hohenzollern, Count Tom, Goulash Guy, who is now on the stream, and to Smiley Nerd 128. So hello guys, thanks for watching. Just thought I'd give them a shout out. But yes,
fantastic.
So give me 1 second, guys.
In Australia.
I'll be right back. Just 1 second.
Okay. By the way,
what was that you said? Whoa, a lot of words here.
Oh yeah, a lot of words. So, I wanted to add that I've seen this video that you were talking about, the Bearing one. While we didn't move on to the topic, I wanted to say that I've literally turned it on, and he said that, "Oh, I'm voting no, despite the fact I am not anti-gay, And I'm like, what? And I did literally skip through like random points in the video because I couldn't watch it just physically. And I'm like, oh my fucking god, this is so bad. I turned it off and I never came back to his channel.
Yeah, the thing is, like, before we get more into the topic, the thing that really got me is it's just the rationale behind it. Again, is like, oh, there are SJWs. First of all, I haven't heard that word's been spoken unironically since like 2014, but
Yeah.
I'm nitpicking at this point. That's literally nitpicking. But it's the whole argument of like, oh, yes is bad, therefore I'm voting no. What are you talking about? No, the no vote is it's atrocious. If you think the yes campaign has been a bit mean, and they've forced you to vote yes because my morals and speaking out against gay people, like, we're talking about people that don't have the same rights, and you're going to perpetuate them not having rights because, oh no, my feelings have been hurt and they're being mean. I could not handle that. That was ridiculous.
Yeah. To quote a great progressive person known on Twitter as Prison Planet, I don't care about your feelings. The world doesn't care about your feelings. Grow the fuck up, Barry.
I think
That's it. I'm sorry.
I think
Please go on.
it's a bit of a stretch, but a way to look at it is voting no unintentionally is inherently homophobic, as the question on the postal vote is, at a stretch, do you want to, based on someone's sexual orientation, deny them the rights that the rest of Australia has? So you're taking...
Exactly.
Yeah, so if you vote no, you're saying, I do not want this person, because of their sexual orientation, to have the same rights as I do. And that's homophobic. Yet when you try to explain this to the no campaign, they suddenly start saying, but my free speech, but it's okay to say no.
Yeah, it's okay to say no, but then you look at the reasons that they give, and it's literally just like, we want, they're pretty much like preaching to people who want to live in the 1950s, who are like, we want traditional family values. We don't want our kids to wear dresses. And it's just the most, again, it is some of the most vile things I've seen on like a campaign. Like, I remember turning on the TV and watching this like 30-second, just these mums, these good Christian mothers spew all this, just this atrocity. It felt sickening that we're having this discussion.
Well, my favorite argument that I hear the no campaign come up with, my absolute personal favorite is, oh, it's the slippery slope. We let the fags get married, and the next thing you know, we're going to have people marrying animals. And I'm thinking,
oh yeah, the Corey Bernardi.
Have you seen the wildlife in Australia? No. Okay.
He can't get near the damn
You're a
thing.
brown snake. Thank you very much. That is not happening. I'm sure Hissy's very nice, but
You
can't
could flip-
This
you
is
could
the
flip
best
that
fucking
down.
counter argument to that.
You can.
I ain't going to go near that spider.
You
Yeah,
could flip
man.
the slippery slope argument and essentially say, just as John Howard was announcing, was it John Howard? Yeah, John Howard. When in 2004, when they were about to change the wording, you could say, but this is a slippery slope. Soon there'll only be only Liberal Party members will be allowed to marry one another, and then what's after that? Only old people. You could flip it around the other way. You could even go as far to say like, they're going back to just heterosexuals marrying. Oh, what's next? Going back to a point where only white people of Australia could marry?
that was actually
It's a slippery slope. Yeah, that was actually a thing.
Yeah. And also, like, when I hear somebody saying, what next? They're going to marry animals? This is what I in my head, it converts itself. And what I hear is, I don't consider gay people to be humans. Because the next step for me is animals. This is what I hear from their mouth. It's like, it's literally homophobic because they don't realize it themselves, but they're literally saying that gay people are not the same as straight people. They don't deserve the same rights because they are not the same as I am. And therefore, they do not deserve the same rights I enjoy. This is just literally, this is when all this shit gets exposed, you know, when a direct question is asked. Like, not philosophical debate, it's not like a political theory debate, it's a direct question. Do you want people to have equal rights? And this is when, like, I am a man. This is when it's all, like, gets out, all the vile in the society itself. And I think, like, it's a good thing because it shows you what the fuck is happening around you.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to add.
I mean, we haven't seen, like, I mean, progressivism in Australia is still, it's still pretty back there. I mean, we're not South Africa, but, you know.
Well, there's a lot of people.
There
in
are
Australia.
still you know, social changes that can be made within communities.
Well, we've got a lot of people in Australia who say, like, very in basic layman's terms, they say, I just want people to be happy no matter who you are. But then when a postal vote comes out like this, like the same-sex marriage postal survey, when it comes out and you think they're going to say yes, suddenly they say no. They say, oh no, I want traditional marriage. And then when you try to expose the hypocrisy and say, but don't you want everyone to be happy? I mean, what's I guess my question here is, like, how do you talk to these people of Australia who suddenly end up voting no and don't realize the impact of themselves voting no? How do you approach these people?
I don't know if you can.
This is a very good question.
I mean,
I would.
Yep, go ahead, Goulash.
Oh no, I was just going to say that I would. Like, I wasn't entirely aware that obviously I knew that the No campaign was going to spout out some atrocious trash, but I didn't realize that so many people would be like, you know, oh, you know, again, it's okay to vote no. Like, what are you talking about? This is, you're suggesting that we maintain this traditional society, which of course, first of all, is unsustainable, like societally and materially. You can't remain stagnant like this. You need to, I don't want to say progress, but I mean, technically, yeah, you need to get with what is obviously going to work, and staying in the 1950s socially isn't going to work. But when it comes out as something so sort of sneaky, like it's okay to vote no, I don't know, maybe if we'd had more time to talk to people about why that's actually stupid, because again, like I think, like someone said before, I think it was TK, like you said, that it sort of gives this insidious sort of support, even if it's like unintentionally, towards these incredibly reactionary groups.
I think it's actually, I mean, people yell at me for this all the time, but that's not really sort of the issue. But I think the core issue is, I think it's an example of our own methodology and our own rhetoric working against us. When I mean us, I mean the left in general, is because the liberal left and the radical left, as you see, predominantly what I would call the idpol crowd, tend to follow this strategy of demonization and attack and silence and removal, rather than a defeat on, shall we say, the field of battle, as it were, by debate or by discussion or by, dare I say, our own propaganda. And so we've essentially handed this weapon to them by saying, like, it's okay to vote no. It's a direct undercut of our own strategy, rather than a pushing of their own agenda. They're not saying vote yes, or, like, you know, vote no to screw over gay people. They're saying you're not a bad person if you vote no. It's your own opinion. Don't let these other evil lefties, evil progressives, step on your rights to choose a position. When, of course, when you really look at it, you're denying rights to, you know, 0.8%. I'm not even sure what the percentage is, but a decent number of people, you're denying their right to choose their life, you know, how they act and how they, you know, embody themselves, like in legal status and how they can refer to themselves. Like there are instances of, like, for example, Milo is coming over here to do his speech and his tour. His marriage is not recognized in Australia. If he was to die in Australia, you know, tough shit, mate. That's it.
Do you think? So it's. Are you saying that the No campaign as a whole is guilty of trying to manipulate people into voting no by saying you're not a bad person to say no, you're not homophobic, you're not this. It's just you can say no.
Yeah,
is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that what they're doing is rather clever. Is they're turning our own position against us, because a lot of our rhetoric on the Yes campaign, because I know both you and me, TK, have been very active in public support for it. What the big thing is that we have gone out of our way and said, hey, this is why this needs to happen. And our wording, and let's face it, we are arguing a moral position. There's no question about it. Materially speaking, I mean, I know this sounds very weird. Materially speaking, marriage as a thing is a partnership, really. It's two people consensually agreeing to something, let's face it. But the emotional and moral impact it has on people is huge. So, you know, to deny that vindication, I suppose you could say, is, you know, tantamount to a crime, especially when it's offered to other people. But the thing is, when they have gotten this position, I think the No campaign in a lot of ways has realized the morality of their situation. They've realized their moral inferiority. So what they've done is they've said, okay, so our moral position isn't strong. So instead of pushing our own position from an inferior position, what we're going to do is we're going to undermine the strength of our position. So because our position is so strong and because our moral argument is so compelling, people who are on the fence or disagree with us might be shamed into voting yes because they feel like, you know, I don't personally agree with it, but, you know, it's the right thing to do, which in a lot of cases is how society functions. So what the No campaign has done is they've gotten that demographic who are on the fence or are Christians, you know, Christians, moderate Christians who think God says this is bad, but I personally haven't got a problem with these guys, but I don't know how to go. And, you know, they would feel bad. They would feel guilty for voting, you know, no, because, you know, they know gay people and they care about them and they want to say, hey, look, I know this is against my religion, but, you know, I don't want to hurt you either. The No campaign has gone and targeted that bracket in particular and gone, okay, you're not a bad person if you say no. And that very argument will tip a lot of people on the fence onto the No camp solely because it's like, you know what? The Yes campaign are bullying us into saying yes. So you know what? Fuck you guys. No. And, you know, you see Trump and all that, and the Kekistanis in particular, pull that same sort of rhetoric. Yeah, go ahead.
So with all that's happened, what do you guys? How many's on? 1, 2, 3. All three of you. What do you think the outcome's going to be with what's happened through this same-sex marriage debate?
Do you mean like the result of it or the sort of after effects?
The result and then like the response to the result, whatever it will be.
I remember seeing a few articles. One of them was when it was only a few days in, maybe a week or two, and it was a Sky News article. So, you know, don't get your don't get your hopes up on it being not biased. It was like No campaign set to win. Vote. And then I remember seeing a couple of, it was a week ago, I think it was Peter Dutton who said that the Yes campaign looked like it was going to win. I can't remember what the context of that was. But I think whatever the outcome, I think the Liberal Party is certainly going to be very tested on this because they have spent a lot of money on this. I don't want to quote Bill Shorten, but it is literally a divisive postal vote that like, again, we've seen the campaign from both sides. We've seen the No side. We've seen how vile that has been, and I think ultimately it is going to shake the ground. Yeah, okay, let's go with that analogy. Yeah, sure. It's gonna shake the ground for like the Liberal Party, and I think a lot of people's trust. I think it's going to, thin ice and what have you. I think it's going to show that the Liberal Party might not be as confident as they sort of set out to be. And I'm not saying that it's going to boost support for Labor. It's certainly going to decrease value for Liberal, and whatever way that goes, maybe that might be towards the sort of reactionary sort of, one nation and maybe more the Nationals than the Liberals. Or maybe it'll go towards Labor, who knows? But I think that the Liberal Party will sort of lose a bit of support, whatever way this goes, because again, it's so divisive even within their party. The responses that they have, like a lot of them are voting yes, a lot of them are voting no. So I think the public response to that will be that they'll lose a little bit of faith in the establishment, so to speak. That's my take on that.
Well, I was going to say, I think the earth-shaking metaphor is a bit better, you see, because the only thin ice I know that exists at least in Canberra, is around Julie Bishop's heart. But apart from that, I'm not really sure.
Oh, fuck.
I'm not really sure there's any other ice in Canberra at the moment, not during summer anyway. Not unless we burn it down, of course. I mean, the anniversary is coming up, comrades. Red salute.
Yes.
Well, we all need to get on this stream again and get horrifically drunk for that one. But yes,
yeah,
it is sort of a bit odd. I think that the Liberal Party is going to reach that point. I think that if the outcome of the vote is yes, and I think it might, I'm actually pretty confident that it will be a yes win. Mainly because I work for a big company. I won't say who. But I do talk to a lot of Australians, and even though we don't talk about politics or anything like that while we're at work, we're not supposed to. It does come up in casual conversation just because it has to, because it's such a big issue. And I have seen a huge amount of. I've seen almost all the people I've heard talk colloquially about it is yes votes, and this is from every bracket, including the elderly who you would expect to be conservative bracket. I think that the yes vote is going to be conclusive. And on that note, I think that because the yes vote is going to win, I think it's more than likely going to result in Malcolm Turnbull resigning. Mainly because I think that the conservative echelons of the Liberal Party are going to push back hard if yes wins it. Because even though we say, it's a postal vote and it's going to, bring up a conscience vote, we know that the moment we bring up a conscience vote, the entire, reactionary brigade of the Liberal Party is just going to close ranks and
the Nationals,
They're going to vote no. All of them are going to vote no. Even it's just going to come down to the Labor Party and how organised and effective the Labor Party is going to be in countering that vote. Like, really, it's not going to be in the Liberals' camp, because we know that about 1/8, shall we call it, just off the top of my head, of the Liberals are going to vote yes. Mainly, the traditional, as you would call it, classical Liberals, like actual sort of, free market, yay, but, the government shouldn't have a say, basically. That sort of bunch. They're going to be voting yes, I think. But anything, it doesn't matter. Even if they're only 10% conservative, that the entire Liberal establishment is going to close ranks and vote no. That's just how it's going to be.
Of course.
And
go ahead.
If Turnbull votes yes, then he's going to lose his plot.
I was just going to say that in terms of the Liberal Party and the sort of post Abbott government, like, Malcolm has really fucked himself into a corner by having all of the you just look at all of the front benches and the back benches of the Liberal Party. Whenever it's Q&A, just look at them and sort of put them in do it in your mind, get a piece of paper and maybe even draw some pictures or whatnot, but put them in the different sort of camps, the sort of different wings of the party. Most of them are that sort of hard conservative, Barnaby Joyce, Peter Dutton, all of those people like that. Corey Bernardi before he left. But it's literally just Malcolm Turnbull being slimy and appeasing the people with the most political influence. You know, if you look at like a lot of his political views years and years ago, you know, they're very pro-Republican, very pro-gay, very pro this and that and whatnot. You know, literally the rational center, but you know, what have you.
Oxymorons alert.
But you look at all of those political views that he had before, and then you look at them now. Like, he's really slacked on the Republican side of things. The vote that we're having now, he's been very, I want to say, complacent. So a lot of his, pardon me, a lot of the fuck my throat. A lot of the like modern sort of political influence that he gets is literally from that sort of backroom deals with the more conservative wing of the party, and it's literally just appeasing the people with the most influence. Which, of course, as you sort of I don't know, even not directly hinted at, but like obviously the more conservative people are going to vote no. There's more of them, so yeah, he's really sort of backed himself into a corner in that regards.
Vote of no confidence territory, I honestly think. I mean, the funny thing is, like, it's interesting that you mentioned the Liberal front bench because we haven't seen him because Abbott's ears were in the way. But after he got out of the way and sort of revealed the front bench to us, it's rather interesting seeing who's sitting up there. I mean, besides Julie Bishop staring into our soul every time it's on. No, but like honestly. The fun thing about Australian politics is I don't see any heavy hitters in there at the moment. Like, I think the heaviest hitter, like one of the heaviest hitters, was in the Senate, and he's just resigned to go into state government. Good old Nick Xenophon. He was one of the big characters, and you got Clive Palmer, meme queen. Like all these big personalities have gone, and all you've got the right wing and the slightly less right wing parties in there by the looks of it. I mean, the Labor Party is progressive, but in terms of government funding, I mean, the Labor Party is really looking like a Blairite kind of party at the moment, at least from what I can see. So,
I mean, I live in an area where the sort of the socialist wing of the party is a bit more prominent. So, I mean, I can't obviously speak for the rest of the country, being that Australia is huge, but I get what you're saying. That I mean, the thing is, I want to vote Labor, but I can't. I don't want to vote for Bill Shorten at the same time. Like, I'll watch what he's saying on interviews, and most of the time I'll like think, yeah, Bill, you've got a point there. You know, the government is bad. We should do something about it. And then he just never sort of gets that extra step. Like, again, I'll agree with some of what he says, but he won't have that sort of flair or that charisma.
Just before we delve a little deeper, I just wanted to hear from Eugene, if he's still there. Like, what's your opinion from like an international perspective? What's your, what do you see Australian politics as? Because we see it as a complete shit show.
Well, I see you see it as a complete shit show. I see it as a very complicated game of chess where people really too often back themselves against the wall because of a very weird system. Like, your parliamentary system is really weird, and I believe that the Liberal leader really put himself up against the wall here. Like, you ask a question, what will the results be? Like, I'm confident that the vote will be yes. And this will be very weird because, like, the only reason why would anyone call the vote, for the same reason why the Brexit vote was called, was, okay, there is an issue that should be addressed, and we can't really decide it. And, like, in case of Australia compared to Brexit, with the same-sex marriage, was like, just imagine, Liberals they would just legalize gay-sex marriage? No. They would lose a lot of support if they did that. They need any sort of justification to go with it, to show to their more conservative base, look, people voted, and we acted as people wanted. Sorry, But this will put the current leadership, under huge fire, and there will be a new prime minister. Like, this will happen, obviously, because, they will just remove the guy, there will be another guy, whatever. There will be a contested leadership in the party. If they go with the no, and most of the people will vote no, this will also be a huge hit for the Liberals, because this is where another parties will start to weapon and start to leverage the support, especially the left. Like this is where, if actually it will be better for the, I believe better for Labour Party if the vote will be no. Like, listen up. Maybe I'm saying complete bullshit because I haven't slept. the whole night.
I think.
But listen up. Like what I believe would, yeah.
I was just going to say, in regards to it being better for Labour if they vote no, in the former Prime Minister that we had, Tony Abbott, who was a very interesting character. I can say a lot of
dinosaur himself.
I can say many a thing about Tony Abbott. He certainly was a human being that existed. But
Debatable.
Okay, when the inter-party vote for new leadership happened, and he was so sure that the strong and stable leadership of him and the rest of his party was going to stay as it was. The best and worst thing that could have happened is that he got voted out. He got voted out, and it proved that sort of old school conservatism wasn't accepted. I mean, ultimately, Malcolm Turnbull was seen as like this fresh new face, and he ended up just being the same person, but with a Malcolm Turnbull mask. Yeah, again, appeasing the conservative wing of the party instead of sticking to his older views. But anyway, I think what we could see with this vote is that whatever way it goes, if it does go no, which is again pretty unlikely, but still, if it does, obviously, when there's like that inter-party collision, that like Australia swing voters, I don't know if anyone remembers the sort of Kevin Rudd, Julia Gillard, Kevin Rudd years, but literally, like, criticize the politics all you want, but at the end of the day, people voted for Tony Abbott because of A, the media, and B, because Labour just looked weak at the end of it. It didn't, like, that sort of party collapse, all of those members leaving when Kevin Rudd came back, they looked weak, and Kevin Rudd held the vote, the general election, too long, and people started thinking, oh, maybe the Liberals are right, maybe this and that. And going back to the best worst thing that could have happened, if Tony Abbott had stayed on with this sort of 50-50 party support, then Labour probably would have won the latest election just because of how weak they looked. So again, I think the outcome that will affect the Liberal Party is definitely going to be staggering in that regard.
I don't. Yeah, in my opinion, it's like a lose-lose situation for. I'm sorry. All I want to say is that, in my opinion, the fact that there is this vote, and it puts the coalition at a very difficult position. Like, it's, in my opinion, it looks like it is lose-lose for them. Like whatever the results will maybe. And I don't think they will go ahead and say, you know what? If I'm pretty sure the people will vote yes. And if they do, if like the Liberals will just say, no, fuck it, we're not going to go with the same-sex marriage anyway, they will look bad. They will literally look bad, despite the fact that it is an unbinding agreement, despite it is an unbinding vote. Like, I don't know. It's so silly. Like, it's following it internationally, it looks really funny. It's like everybody acts like a dipshit. People are debating equal rights for humans, and debating, the main word, debating the equal rights for humans, insane. And the Liberals will lose because they are saying tremendous shit that like their base doesn't like, and it's just bad. And I don't think this will be a win for the LGBTQ community, because of how much like shit has been thrown. It's like literally shit hit the fan. Like, if I will be happy if like you will manage to get the yes vote and legalize same-sex marriage, but look at what has happened to the like the Liberals because of that, and I don't think the Labour will be able to leverage that, or any other political force will be leverage that, except for the Nationals. Those guys are sitting there like, nah, we won't no, and then everybody votes no, and the Liberals come with the vote, and they legalize, they will go to the Nationals, and it's like a huge fucking shitpost. All of it is a fucking shitpost, in my opinion.
I guess with this image that Australia is putting out, and in a broader sense, not just with same-sex marriage, what's the future of Australian politics specifically with Labor and Liberal? Are we like in 10 plus years actually going to see a different party other than Labor or Liberal in government? Is it going to go that far? What do you guys think?
Well, I'm voting Positivism. No, seriously.
Best case scenario. Okay, best case scenario. The law doesn't get passed, and we accelerate the dialectics. There's a revolution, and we let off all the nukes.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to collectivize Limera, and I'm just going to go fucking nuts.
But I think that the current situation with things, again, I think what's going to happen in Australia is something that's going to happen with, like, in America, where there's this very strong two-party political system that ultimately the only sort of maybe reactionary or socialist candidates that are going to get elected are going to be ones that have, like, outspoken support within the Labor Party or within the Liberal Party or the National Party. I don't see... I mean, One Nation, I see them getting a lot more support regionally. I don't think that Pauline Hanson is going to become Prime Minister. Don't hold that to me if we end up living in... don't hold that to me if we end up living in dystopia, but anyway.
The thought.
The thing is, I do see, like, again, in regions like Queensland, where the further north you go, the spookier things get. I see, you know, obviously there's support that will... Little joke for the non-Australians, Queensland is a bit racist. The further north you go, the more so in mass. But
think Alabama
again, it's
with snakes that can kill you.
It's like a reverse United States. It's you just flip the map upside down.
Just go north.
The north is like Texas. I certainly see sort of like I want to say like Donald Trump, but those words just applied to Australia just doesn't seem right, because the only sort of Donald Trump character I can think of is Clive Palmer.
Clive Palmer.
Yeah, Clive Palmer. He saw
Palmer.
the election. He saw the election in America, and he was like, "Memes worked. I wonder if I can meme myself into the prime ministership." And his politics are absolutely trash, but it's funny. He is funny. Anyway.
No, seriously. Clive Palmer for primers. I want to see it. Just because.
He's gonna build a dinosaur park. He's gonna legalize tin cans.
He's gonna build a replica. He's gonna build a
secretly
replica of the Titanic, and he's gonna make
Titanic too, of course. I don't really see any of those parties winning, because, quite frankly, it's the two-party political stranglehold that we see in, like, America and in England that just doesn't, pardon me, that it's the only sort of, like, fringe leaders that will get elected are ones within that party who, I don't know, I want to say Anthony Albanese and the word socialist at the same time, but
I don't think we should.
I like Albo. He's sort of got that working class background. That he's a good lad. But I think that the only sort of leaders like that are going to be ones within the party, because again the sort of two parties / two-party coalition stranglehold. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd vote for the Greens, but it's not going to happen, boys. I'm sorry. We're not going to get... DiNatale isn't going to win. He's not going to be PM.
I'll be frank. I vote Labor because where I live, I might as well, because there's no way it's going to be a Liberal seat. But more to the point, it's like it's the Senate where I have my fun, because, you know, I tried to find the Communist Party on the ballot and they weren't actually there. but I could find the Social Democrats. So whenever they do the the electoral census, there's going to be like one red dot in the middle of my electorate. They're going to be like, who the fuck's that guy?
Yeah.
And you just see this massive flag of the USSR just flying above my house, and you're going to be like, look no further.
Oh, I think it's that guy.
I don't know, but in all it's like
one time I don't want to go, the virgin vote versus the Chad uprising. One time, I just want to waste my vote. I just want to put one above the line for the sex party, and then just like the rest of the votes can be fucking whatever. I want to put the sex party as number one, even though they give their votes to Labour. I just want to put them as number one.
My interesting voting story was in my town, everyone would go in, vote above the line, and get out in under like a minute. And I was there for like about 20 minutes, and the volunteers kept coming over saying like, "You okay? Do you need some help on like how to vote?" I'm like, "No, it's fine, it's fine." And like the 30-minute mark, I think it was like, no, it was just 20 minutes. And I stepped out, and they were like, did you we have pamphlets on how to vote. I'm like, "Oh no, it's okay. I filled out every box." And they stared at me with this shock and awe, because there was 115 options, 115 numbers of boxes to fill out in the Senate ballot. And I did every single one.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it reminds me of when I voted for the first time for Parliament. Basically, we have a House of Representative, and every single person on the House of Representative is shit. And the Parliament has no power in Belarus, and basically the results are staged, like falsified. So there is no fucking reason to go there, but they sell really cheap like bakery stuff there when the elections happen, and like really cheap alcohol, by the way.
Like
they actually lure people to voting. Yeah, they literally lure people to voting booths by providing them with alcohol and cheap like snacks to validate.
Here too. We've got the old voting booth sausage sizzle, man. It's like an institution.
No, it's literally vodka and like soup occasionally. Depends from like polling place to polling place. But what I did is I went to the booth. And I crossed out all of the ballots and wrote a quote from the song that was like buzzing in my head through the last month, which is Notorious by Duran Duran. I heard you lies, but I won't believe them again. And then I did it again. And I wrote it with like a pen that it was lying there. And the people that were like waiting for me to get out were worried whether I understood what the fuck is happening, and they were laughing, "Haha, he's making a decision," or something. Still thinking about the decision, or something. They literally were laughing at that. And then I went and threw the ballot in, and because it was my first ever elections, they gave me a pen as a present. The government gave me a pen.
I wish I got a present.
And I lost it in like a month's time.
I'm imagining like a live stream of the results coming in with the music like going over like, "Tell me lies, tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies."
Tell me lies.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I voted. It's you go to the church or the school or wherever you go to vote. And they give you the ballot. But out the front they have the the people handing out the how to vote cards, and there's the different like political parties. And I remember going there with my family because it was only like a 5-minute drive away. So this is like a relatively small area where people don't. It's not like we all know each other and we live in like a fucking Amish village, but. Sometimes you'll go there and you'll see people or have worked with or gone to school with. And I remember walking in and, there's like the Labour guys handing out their pamphlets or whatnot, the Liberals. And this woman walks up, this horrific looking woman, this monster of a human being who has like the face of Julie Bishop, but the body of just a slug. Just this old decrepit grandma from like a horror film, and she walks up to us and she's got the Family First, And she sort of walks up and she goes, "Family first." And my mother like puts out her hand like in the the Soviet poster where there's the Borgie holding the wine, and he's got the beer and he's like, "No," and she was like, "No, I don't want that." And I'm and just looking around at the sort of audience of people, and the shock and the at the same time the sort of bravo in their eyes that like this
they all want to applaud
atrocity
and clap, but no, they can't.
Yes, they all want to wave the red banner and say this is a fight against the bourgeoisie and the traditionalists. You know, Trad Nation gets absolutely fucked hard. XXX. But it was just that was my introduction to the voting scene. Was my mother telling Trad Nation to fuck off. It was it was pretty good.
No, I had that.
Fill out the votes.
It was more like my first voting experience. Rather, unfortunately, my first vote. I won't hide it. My first vote was for Julia Gillard. Unfortunately, not that you guys, our American viewers, won't understand what that means. But my God. Anyway, long story short, I voted for Julia Gillard. So our first female prime minister. I was, on board the progressive train. I was like, you know what? Let's give it a shot. Let's go for this. It needs to happen. Finally, something we can be more progressive than the Americans about, which, considering. So we went in there. We went in there to vote, and our local polling booth is a church. Okay. So we go in there. We get our ballot papers, and I walk up. And the first time I voted, I got to my voting booth, and I looked up, and I realized that we were voting in the Sunday school. Okay. And it was the funniest fucking thing, because on the wall in front of me, it's got a picture of the Lord and Savior himself, JC, looking down at me, and it had a quote underneath it, and it says, "Jesus looked at his flock and said," and then it was cut off by the voting booth, and it says, "Please check the results on your ballot paper." And I'm like, "Oh fuck, the Liberals are onto me." My then girlfriend at the time then talked to me. We were discussing it. I'm like, "So who did you vote for?" And I'm like, that's a personal question. It's like, well, who did you vote for? Well, and you guys are going to go, "Oh God, I voted for the Family First Party." I'm like, "Oh Jesus Christ, why?" I wanted to sort of, looking back on it, I think subtly maybe her parents didn't like me because their commie detector went off. I don't know. But no, seriously, point is, I just thought that was my first experience. My girlfriend at the time voted for the Family First, and Jesus was looking on me as I voted. So I sort of look back at that election and sort of think to myself, "Fuck." That's the only word that I can sort of think of describing.
But the Lord was literally giving you the stinky eye.
Yeah, he was looking at me like, "Oh boy, you're voting for those."
Jesus disapproves. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, not that I'm a big fan of religion. I'm really, really, really not a big fan of religion. But the whole sort of thing. There's a meme going around. I don't know if you guys saw it, about an old show called The Vicar of Dibley. I don't know if you guys ever saw that. Classic show. And it says, the rich bougie mayor of the town sort of says, Jesus and hates the godless communists. It says, at no point did he say we should give all our stuff to the poor. I'm like, well, actually, kind of. Bit iffy there, guys. Distribution of wealth.
Yeah. He literally said that, but let's move on.
Give on to your flock what you do not need, and something like that. I don't actually remember the quote.
It's harder to a rich person to get into heaven than to a caravan to pass through the eye of a needle. So the rich go to hell, literally. If you're bad and bougie, you're going to fucking suffer for eternity. Like,
it's an old way, and old books are dumb.
Yeah. Both family first.
Yeah, absolutely.
Alrighty, guys. We've been going for about an hour now, so if you've got any last...
Let me just... Yeah, I wanted to say something about the future of Australian politics because you asked what's the 10 years. I have two scenarios basically.
Oh, okay.
One is if there is economic crisis. One if there isn't an economic crisis, and I'm talking about like global shit. If there is an economic crisis, there is a good possibility for a good leftist or thing to happen, like some opposition party or something from within of the Labour. And there is a good chance that the right will go full-on third positionist. Like, I believe that third positionism could be on the rise globally as a response to economic turmoil of global capitalism. But if that doesn't happen, all I can count on for as a change is if I believe that one day you will just. Is anyone of you living next to the shore?
I think a thing to remember though is that the average Australian considers a 4.20 pie not being on sale an economic crisis.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know, but I'm
not-
talking about like big stuff. Does anybody of you live next to the shore on the seashore?
I
Anybody?
live about an hour away from the beach.
I'm about
like,
I'm about 15 minutes away, maybe.
Oh, like Pacman walks out of his on his porch. He walks straives to on his lazy afternoon one day. And he goes to the shore. The other scenario, obviously, and he looks at the sea and he sees dolphins going to the shore, dozens, hundreds of them, and they are carrying Harold Holt back to reclaim the throne. And they will carry him, and he will establish communism.
Like, technically, I didn't stop being prime minister.
Exactly.
Harold
Holt will reclaim. He will start a new political party. The Dolphin Posadist Caucus, and he will literally reclaim the throne and start the nuclear war.
I am doing this.
I want to say, like, if you don't like the Social Democrats, then form your own party. But that obviously just will never happen. And then it'll be like in America, where it's like if you don't like the current candidates, then you should vote for more progressive ones. And then that just sort of never happens because of the Westminster system. But
yeah,
I'm gonna be an armchair on this one and just cross my fingers and be like, please work.
Read Bordigan flag. No, seriously. It's going to be a life of Brian scenario, I reckon, because it's going to end up where the left is going to do what it always does, and it's going to get right up into the point of it, and then it's going to fracture, and then it's going to be like, it's going to get to us all discussing, oh, hey, how about this, how about that? Okay, we're the Liberation Front of Australia, the Workers' Rights Union of Australia, and then it's going to be like, okay, so where are the Social Democrats? He's over there.
Fuck it! Yes, literally that.
One guy just sitting over there in the corner, just.
Oh, that's hilarious. Alrighty,
Harold
guys.
Holt 2020.
Harold Holt for 2020. That's a good point to wrap up. So thank you all for coming. I know it was a very short notice to get a couple of you guys on. Thank you for coming on. I hope perhaps this time next week you'll come back.
I'll be in.
Oh, I'll be happy.
Excellent. Thank you all for listening in out there from Swamp to Stagnant Swamp. Be sure to click subscribe so you can get updated on the podcast, Bolshevik Bistro, book clubs and whatnot. And you can contact us on our website, easternmarshlands.com. And good night and good luck. See you guys later.
Accelerate.
Auf Wiedersehen.